Ann Arbor, where Juwan Howard is staying as the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, spurning LeBron James, Rob Pelinka, and the Los Angeles Lakers, as he has apparently no interest, even though the Lakers never actually made a formal offer, but he has no interest in leaving the chance to coach both of his sons, Jace and Jet, next season. Juwan Howard staying at Michigan. The Lakers' embarrassing coaching search continues, Ryan.
Yeah, it was like a weird time for it to come out too, because that report came out after the Lakers had already narrowed it down to like two finalists, whether it was Terry Stotts and Darvin Ham, or maybe it was those two names and like a pool of others that weren't named by name. And then, 2 days later, it's Juwan Howard turns down an overture to be the Lakers head coach, which is basically, like you said, it's not the job offer. It's just saying, like, hey, is this something you'd be interested in even discussing further? And he was like, no. So that's cool. They can leave it there. And then again, it's a weird, like more leaks coming out that LeBron and AD were making impassioned pleas to him on the phone. And I don't know. Like I'm not up here to say it's not true, but like a plea. I know him and LeBron are boys. It could have just been a phone call, like, hey, it'd be cool if you came and rocked with us. And Juwan was like, no, you know how you want to play with your sons? I want to coach with my sons. And like that seems to me like more how the conversation went than them like begging Juwan Howard to grace the Los Angeles Lakers with his presence or something. So I don't know. I think that whole story and just like the timeline of it is strange. But we talked about it maybe like 2 months ago. I think on one of our very first shows was the possibility of Juwan coaching the Lakers, and I feel like I still felt at that point, which is you're definitely way more likely to get fired from the Lakers than you are from Michigan. You probably have way more pull in Ann Arbor than you're going to in Los Angeles, but I don't know. It's still coaching the Lakers, and I think you have a better shot to win a title coaching in Los Angeles than you do coaching basketball at Michigan. Um, and last year wasn't a great year for Michigan. I know they made it to the Sweet 16, so they were able to show out a little more in the tournament than they did in the regular season. But it was still a team that was 17 and 14, so I wasn't super impressed by the job that anybody did. Juwan obviously got suspended for the last handful of games there, and Martelli took over at the end of the regular season. But I don't know, like in for Juwan, I will say here's where I think it's a smart choice. The Lakers obviously aren't a great job. In name, terrific job, but if you looked at it on paper, no. And you get to coach your sons, and Juwan knows there's going to be a spot in the NBA always for him. He was an assistant for a couple years there with the Heat. He obviously played for a long time. He's going to have probably a pretty good college coaching resume. There might not be a national championship on it, but it'll be pretty, it'll be pretty well. He'll be highly regarded. And, his connection to LeBron, him and LeBron are always going to be friends. LeBron, I know he wants to be like an owner one day, and he'll still probably have different connections to these front offices, along with, Clutch Sports and Rich Paul and everything else. So I think when Juwan wants to make the NBA jump, he won't have any trouble with it. A job like the Lakers might not always be available. And while I still think like, hey, it's the Lakers, you should at least hear him out. If there was ever a time to turn down the Lakers job, now is the time. And I think Juwan saw that, and of course he wants to coach his sons. And how could you blame him, man, for that?
No, definitely can't blame him for that. And but what you say makes sense. The math plays out at the very least. That look, how many teams are there in the NBA? 30, 32. The chances of winning an NBA championship are a heck of a lot better. There's less
32
teams in the actual entire league than make the college basketball playoffs, the NCAA tournament. So the math absolutely rings true of your chances of winning a championship are a lot better in the NBA in general, but especially when you are the helm of one of the standard organizations for the NBA in the Los Angeles Lakers. Granted, it's a little bit of a mess right now. I mean,
it's an understatement.
generally, if you win a championship, you don't usually get fired 2 years later. It didn't used to happen that often. And this clearly obviously happened to Greg Vogel. I think LeBron messed up here.
Right.
I think AD messed up here. They should have taken it further. They should have pulled a CP3 and a Blake Griffin and, locked themselves in Juwan Howard's house and don't let the man leave while, the Michigan AD drives around the block trying to get in touch with him.
Well, if it's Michigan AD, it'd be Xavier Simpson in his car. It wouldn't be him.
That DeAndre Jordan story is still one of the wildest things I ever heard.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what?